What is going on, Alpha Hunters? It is a very terrific Thursday today. Let's start off by looking at the data we got this morning because we got CPI. CPI came in year over year, the number that most people kind of just pay attention to. Year over year, inflation rate came in at 2.4%. Which was a little higher than forecast. Forecast was expecting 2.3%, but prior came in at 2.5%. So it did trend down, just didn't drop as much as, people were expecting there. As far as core inflation, the one that's been rather stubborn, it stayed somewhat strong. It came in at 3.3%. Forecast was calling for 3.2%, and prior was also 3.2%. So we actually ticked a little higher, even though the economists thought we were going to come in flat. So that's how inflation was. The other big thing that we got this morning was, jobless claims. So initial jobless claims. You can see, on the bar chart, a little bump there. Little bump there. So it came in at 258K. The forecast was calling for 230K. Prior was 225K. So the forecasters were expecting a little bit of an uptick there on initial jobless claims, but not as much as the one that we got. We jumped all the way up to 258. Ooh, pretty good climb there. So that is some of the data that we did get this morning. You see the volatility when we got all of that. Not exactly a clear picture. Inflation staying strong, and then a little bit faster pace of, initial jobless claims there. People getting laid off, stuff like that. As far as how the market's doing today, so we did have that little bit of a gap down. We did trade a little bit lower. We were actually down pre-market a little bit anyways before we got that data point. We opened down roughly about 0.25%, and then traded lower and had a nice little bounce there all in the first 40 minutes or so, and then kind of steadily been trading lower here over the past 50 minutes or so. Anyways, we were down about 1/3% there on the SPY. Q's currently down about 0.35%. It did have a little bit more of a gap down here, almost 0.5%, not quite. And then, it's mostly just been flat. It's just had this little 5-minute drop here and then a 20-minute run. But other than that, outside of that, it was pretty sideways there to start, and it's been pretty sideways here the past 50 minutes. IWM, there you go, nice gap down here. Currently down 1% there on the IWM, which that's about where we gapped to today. Gap down 1%, traded lower, bounced, rolled over here the past 45 minutes. All right. DIA was basically a flat open, rolled lower, bounced, kind of rolled over. At the lows of the day right now, the DIA currently down about 0.4%. RSP currently down about 1/3. Nice little gap down, traded lower, bounced, kind of rolled over here. A lot of the markets have this gap down, kind of trade lower, bounce, and then kind of a roll over here for the past 45 minutes. So the RSP currently down about 1/3%. I'd say with the bullish move that we had yesterday, still looks pretty good. Probably to continue higher. Yeah, I'd say it looks okay. Probably to go higher. Probably going to see a little bit more gains on the market, generally speaking, I would say. The DIA pulling back a little bit today. Had a nice little bullish day yesterday. Still above its moving averages. IWM sitting right on top of the 50 EMA. Did wick below the low that we put in October 3rd. So we were trying to break through this kind of like downtrend that we've had going here since the middle of September. Kind of some downtrending line there. Still could just be basing here, and then if we start to break out above it, maybe we'll see the IWM kind of rip here. So we've thrown some wicks above some kind of like downtrend line here. Anyways, if we can get through that, maybe we'll see the IWM kind of rip it here. Q's kind of holding pretty good. Did the Q's get above? Ooh. They were really close. High yesterday, or the high back on September 26th was 493.70. The high yesterday, 493.73. So we actually took out that high from late September by about 3 pennies. there. And okay, nice little gap down, just kind of hanging out for the most part today there on the Qs. And might just continue to see slow grinds higher for now. As far as the SPY, yeah, nice little push to all-time highs yesterday. Kind of just hanging out today. Nothing kind of crazy going on. Unless PPI comes in, I would say really, really strong tomorrow. I don't see us selling off tomorrow. Because I think that's probably all we're getting tomorrow is really PPI that would have a big impact. Consumer sentiment survey, but that's not really a big deal. Yeah, it's mostly going to be PPI. So unless PPI, we see a huge gain in PPI, which I have no confidence in that scenario. Probably just slow grind higher, probably the rest of the day and then into tomorrow. Makes sense to me. The VIX, 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 kind of just hanging out, waiting for the moving averages to come up. We'll see what happens, what kind of interaction we get. Might just be another hangout day tomorrow as well. It's kind of had that slow pullback, sitting right on top of this previous high where it broke out on Monday. So that's kind of where it's sitting for now. DXY slowly making its way up to this next little hump level where this 100 moving average roughly is where it's coming down. So we're getting pretty close to that. That's gonna be the question. Then at that point in time, what are we gonna wind up doing? I would say at that point in time, if you're playing the DXY, probably just gonna sit on your hands for a bit, see how things set up going forward. GLD Gold Trust, nice pullback here over the previous couple of days, kind of into that 20 EMA. Tried to break it down yesterday, bouncing back above it today. So either we were kind of breaking this bullish trend here over the past couple of weeks, had a quick bounce today into the 10 EMA, also this previous low back from September 30th, and maybe we continue lower. But I'm not going to take GLD and gold bearish. I would rather just have been buying maybe here over the past couple of days, and then, you know what? If it winds up rolling even lower, buy more when it gets lower. 10-year yield. 10-year yield. Did we have crazy movement on yields this morning? A little bit. Nothing crazy. But it is moving positively. Moving up. Maybe making a way up to this low. I mean, there's not much in the way. We are getting through that 100 moving average. Yeah, I would say probably this low, because it's also about where that 200 moving average is, around 4.18 or so, 4.17 level. Anyways, all right. We are continuing to see the inversion yield move higher. Okay, so we didn't come back and uninvert. We just kind of pulled back very sharply at the end of week last week on Friday. Monday kind of retested into that zero. Now we are bouncing from that zero barrier there on the inversion on the yield curve. So there you go. HYG seeming like it wants to hold on, but seeming like it definitely wants to break down. If you were looking to play maybe the HYG, you could definitely probably put in an alert, probably just below that 50 EMA. Dang, that's gonna be tough. Yeah, this is one that's gonna be tough, because you could definitely, if you get below that 50 EMA, you're probably looking for a pretty decent move. Maybe back down to like this little pivot level. It's kind of where this top was as well. So you can have a decent little move there. But I would hop on probably pretty aggressively. That's why I'm saying if you're going to do that, put an alert just below that 50 EMA, and you're probably just going to like almost enter as it would break that down. And that's if we don't gap below it, maybe tomorrow or Monday or something like that. You just got to be real careful. If we do maybe trade down, snag it tomorrow, and then come back up by the end of the day, you got to be really careful about that. So make sure you have a stop loss definitely above the moving averages, because you probably have some kind of resistance on the moving averages as they come down. But that's kind of the way I would like to do it. LQD continuing to move lower. Okay, so I mean, we got into this area. That's where I said we probably have a little bit of choppiness, possibly a bounce from there. Well, we didn't really get the bounce. We tried to bounce there on Tuesday, but we have come just steadily right back down through there. We are continuing to make our way through there, so we might just make our way to that 100 moving average. I just said I wouldn't want to be a part of that little move, because if you're taking it bearish from up here, you got probably most of all that move here over the past week and a half. Anyways, LQD probably going to keep coming down for now. TLT has continued just to smash lower as we saw yields moving higher. So same kind of deal there with the LQD. You know, once you got kind of into this area where we got roughly Monday with that gap down, we were almost there Friday. I could definitely understand like taking it off on Friday. Like, hey, you know what? We basically gapped down to that area and like, take it off kind of deal. But you know what? Not shocked we have continued to move lower, but also wouldn't want. I mean, if you got most of your gains already up here, wouldn't want to be part of little scraps down here. So I think right now for bonds, you're just waiting. All right. As far as sector rotation, we got energies leading the day again on the bounce back. There you go. All right. So that's gonna be like, I think like 2 weeks in a row that they've done really well. Outside of, I believe, like Monday or Tuesday, they got absolutely shredded. Energies have done pretty well. Utilities, materials outperforming on the day. Good to see utilities bouncing back there. You got healthcare, financials, staples, tech, all barely outperforming there. And you got discretionaries, industrials, barely underperforming, as well as communications and real estate at the lower end of the day. Makes sense. Real estate down, probably a lot to do with yields. Intraday. So I was going to be kind of curious. Yeah. Tech doing pretty good. They mostly got hit with the gap down. They did gap down a little bit more in the SP 500. But they were definitely holding kind of tough there in the first 40 minutes or so. So yeah, tech intraday doing actually pretty well. Materials, utilities, energies doing pretty good. Is that industrials? Industrials barely outperforming the SP 500. Communications underperforming, as well as discretionaries, healthcare, real estate, staples, and financials at the lower end of the day. So there you go.